Good evening and welcome to Metro Focus. I'm Rafael P. Roman. Last year's hurricane season was one of the most catastrophic on record. Thousands of lives were claimed as Hurricanes Irma, Harvey, and Maria swept over the United States and the Caribbean. In Puerto Rico, many of the island's residents are still without power, and the death toll estimates there continue to rise 9 months after Maria made landfall. So what's in store for 2018? According to scientists at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, more destruction is inevitable. Their forecast models predict that the upcoming hurricane season will be, quote, near normal to above normal in the number and intensity of the storms we can expect. And joining us now to discuss what's likely to come during this hurricane season, among other things, is Radley Horton, an associate professor at Columbia University's Lamont Doherty Earth Observatory, who specializes in climate research. Professor, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Great to be back.
So, Professor, let's start with that NOAA report. How does NOAA go about making its model? And if you can elaborate on what it's predicting for this season.
Sure. So there are a lot of factors that go into these projections for the season, for the number and intensity of hurricanes. Some of the things that NOAA is looking at are the temperatures of the upper ocean. When we have warmer ocean temperatures than average, that gives us a little more fuel, a little more potential for stronger than normal storms. They're also looking at El Nino, which is a phenomenon every 2 to 7 years. It's an ocean-atmosphere interaction centered over the Pacific, but it has impacts over the Atlantic. For example, it impacts how strong wind shear is, which can cut apart hurricanes, and how strong those surface winds are that move a hurricane. Bottom line is when you have a strong El Nino event, you tend to have fewer hurricanes in the Atlantic basin. So putting it all together, these and other factors, NOAA has issued a forecast for a slightly above normal hurricane season. That means the total number of storms, the number of really intense storms, projected to be a little bit above normal. But I think really the take-home message here is that we all need to be prepared, no matter what the forecast is for a particular year.
Yeah, but a little bit above normal doesn't mean it's going to be anywhere like last year. Is that more or less right?
That's absolutely right. Really, this is what it comes down to. As we saw last year, a few incredibly powerful storms that happened to make landfall in really vulnerable places lead to catastrophic impacts, right? As you mentioned, $300 billion in damages, thousands of lives lost from 3 storms. So basically it comes down to, will there be in any one location a direct hit or near direct hit by a very powerful hurricane, category 3, 4, or 5. That remains extremely difficult to predict. Even as sort of basin-wide, we can say there's likely to be a little above or a little below normal number of storms.
So NOAA can predict, or anyone can predict, just so far. I mean, the question marks and the unexpected will always be there.
That's right. And of course, the critical distinction is we're talking months in advance here. As we have an actual storm form and we're looking at the sort of weekly or 10-day forecast for where that storm may go, the uncertainties are pretty big there, but they've actually improved a lot for NOAA and other agencies over time.
Yeah, so from this model and from what you know from other models and your own work, what regions are likely to get hit? And is this region, the tri-state area, likely to get hit this hurricane season?
In any particular year, we're relatively unlikely to get hit by a hurricane in the Northeast. But of course, as we saw with Sandy, as we saw with Irene, we can't plan for those probabilities. We have to, prepare for the possibility. But certainly, first and foremost, I think attention should be on those areas that are still recovering, that still haven't recovered from the events last year. Many of those parts of the Caribbean are in that sort of hurricane alley to begin with, more likely to get hit in a baseline circumstance, and certainly more vulnerable today because they haven't had the chance to recover from those prior events. Elsewhere, some of the areas in the Atlantic that tend to get more impacts, Florida, Gulf of Mexico. But as we've seen, in recent years, these things can extend all the way up even into Canada.
So, Professor, can we say with a certain degree of certainty that there is a connection between climate change and the hurricanes that have been hitting us for the last few years?
There are some clear, airtight connections between hurricanes and climate change. There are also some areas that are more speculative where we don't know a lot. So starting from what we have a lot of confidence in, sea level has risen due to greenhouse gas increases over the last century. In the New York region, we've had about a foot of sea level rise over the past 100 years. As a result, when any storm or hurricane arrives, it's arriving and meeting a higher baseline of water. It's that much easier to get flooding. So when an event happens, you see more flooding. In terms of the actual storms themselves, we feel very confident that the amount of rainfall is going to increase as the atmosphere warms. Warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture. The actual winds of the storms themselves and the number of storms, balance of evidence suggests that the Category 3, 4, 5, the major hurricanes, probably are going to become a little more frequent in the future. What's going to happen to the total number of storms? Somewhat uncertain.
In the minute that we have left, have we learned, especially since Sandy, how to cope with these events here in the city?
We've learned a lot in New York City, I think undeniably. But already after 5 years, I think you have a risk. It's human nature, government cycles. It's hard to continue to remember all we learned about vulnerability during Sandy. There's a danger, I think, inevitably with the passage of time that we forget just what it did, and we forget how with higher sea levels, vulnerabilities are actually going to go up, even though we have made important steps to remove some people from harm's way and to build some additional protective areas. If we see the worst sea level rise projections, though, we potentially face risks that are a lot greater than anything we're prepared for. A medium level sea level rise projection of, say, 2.5 feet by later this century could turn the high water level that currently happens once every 100 years, roughly the Sandy level water level, into something we see every 20 years, even if storms don't change at all, just raising that baseline.
All right, Professor, well, thank you very much. It's a very important issue.
Thank you.